let's start the show.
It's April 4th, 2013. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com.
Right.
Look at that fucking squirrel on my bird feeder.
And then suddenly, the Enterprise D's bridge.
I'm Will Smith. Joining me, as always, Norman Chan. How you doing, sir?
That was a old school intro.
It's it feels like it's such a long time ago, but I think it's from last summer.
It is from last summer because the bird feeder stuff was
In my living room, right?
Podcasting from your living room.
Yeah, those are good.
And wow,
Dubs.
that should have been retired.
It would have been retired, but my laptop's in the shop this week, and I'm using the iMac that we used to do podcasts.
And that was the file that was on.
And this
the
was
iMac.
this was on there. I mean, I have the real one too, but I figured, when you have the opportunity to kind of mix it up, and people have been complaining about the Tested podcast theme.
So
lately.
why is your laptop in the shop?
Well, they have it now, and the only question they asked me was, did you spill anything on it? So last weekend I was using my MacBook for a project, and suddenly it rebooted, and then it stopped working entirely and came back up for like 5 minutes and then just turned off. And it's a MacBook Air, so there's not a whole lot of service you can do yourself on it.
Did you do anything to it?
Yeah, probably.
Probably. Is it something that you did that you probably don't want to say out loud to have on record?
I think
for warranty issues or for warranty purposes.
Probably that would be smart. But I think we should talk about it.
I don't think any geniuses listening to the podcast right now are going to look up your.
Oh, I guarantee you geniuses
order.
are listening to the podcast. I just hope they wouldn't narc me out.
I don't think they would narc you out.
Okay, so I was doing some Arduino stuff, and I was moving my circuit from a breadboard, which, a breadboard, if you don't know, is a thing that has holes, and there's, like, the leads have little metal pins on the end, so you can just jam them in, and it makes it...
Yep. And then you can solder...
So then,
leads.
Well, you usually don't solder into the breadboard. Usually you use that to prototype the circuit and figure out what works, and then you solder the circuit into a more permanent shield. So you just get a shield with a bunch of holes on the top that are connected in a specific way, and then you wire stuff into that, which is what I was doing. So I was moving the circuit that worked from a breadboard to a shield, and I missed something when I was hooking it up, and I accidentally piped. It's possible, theoretically speaking, that I accidentally piped 12 volts back down the USB bus and torched the Arduino and also possibly the MacBook.
So the Arduino's gone.
Well, it was an old Arduino, so it's not. It was a Du Milano.
$25.
$25 down the tubes. That might be repairable from reading online. But the MacBook was still under warranty, so I just went into the to talk to the geniuses. It was like, it just stopped working, man. I don't know. So I played real dumb.
Always play dumb.
I got the first smarmy genius I've ever worked with.
How was he smarmy? Or
He was kind of well, he just got new glasses, which we talked about, because the new glasses, when you have bottle cap glasses like mine, is a little bit of a challenge, because he was kind of like doing the head side to side thing, like trying to figure out where the focal point was, and he was. Like, he was going down the list, and he was like, "Is there water damage?"
Yeah, you got to go through procedure.
Well, yeah, but I was like, "No, there's no water damage. I would have told you if there was water damage. I wouldn't have even bothered coming in, because you're going to charge me like $1,000 to fix it.
And they can always tell if
Yeah,
there's water damage.
He's like, "We can tell if there's water damage."
I think there should be I think going in for warranty and going in to get your phone replaced or something, it should always be a gamble. It should be risk and reward.
So you're saying if you can pull off the lie enough?
No, well, of course, if you could pull off the lie enough, then you should be rewarded.
Yeah.
But I think the risk is the part that isn't there. If you lie and say there isn't water damage,
Yeah.
and it turns out there is,
Well, you had an experience with
then
this.
you should have to pay double.
Didn't you take your iPhone 4? Didn't you go swimming with your iPhone 4?
I didn't go swimming. The ocean attacked me and destroyed the iPhone 3GS.
Oh, 3GS.
And I paid the full price to have it replaced.
Uh-huh. And did you go in and try to play dumb?
No, I said there was a
Rogue Wave?
Something was broken with it.
Oh. So that's playing dumb. You didn't say I got in the ocean and stopped working.
No.
How did they find it out? Did they look at it? Did they have the dots back
they
then?
open. So the way water damage is typically assessed is, at least on the iPhone, there are several points, both back in the dock connector days, dock connector and the headphone jack. The color will change, and the geniuses there will look down those ports to see if the color changes. They can, because it's a case by case basis, and it's up to the employee. I think that they can swap out your phone then and there if you're within your 30 days or whatever,
or even within the 1 year.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they just log that in on their special iPhones in the store or iPod Touches.
Yeah, I've actually had that. Now they do iPads, by the way. So when my iPhone 4, when the home button stopped working, I just went in and took it, and they were like, "Well, let's back this up. We'll copy it off, and then we'll give you a new one."
Same thing with like a dead pixel or something, because they will allot for a certain number of defective units.
Yeah.
But I'm sure plenty of people go into those stores and try to con the warranty game and say they didn't do anything and try to put it on the manufacturer. And I think that if you get caught, I think you should sign something that says, this is your statement of what you're committing to.
Well, the repair cost for a new motherboard in this MacBook is like $800. So I feel like that's probably substantial enough. I feel like that's enough punishment.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. You should. Well, I take it back. Maybe the cost is the cost. You should be shamed.
Yeah, I think a public shaming is acceptable.
There should be a website. I was caught lying about my warranty.
Or maybe it's like you stand. I mean, I guess well, here's the thing. I didn't commit fraud because he didn't say, "Hey, why do you think this is broken?" He said, "What happened?" And I said, "It stopped working." These things are absolutely true. I did not deduce that I had piped 12 volts down the wrong line
when you were there.
No, I knew it by then, but he didn't say. There's an omission of truth, perhaps, but he didn't say, "Why do you think this is broken?" In which case, I would have said, "Well, I was fucking around with Arduino and accidentally torched the motherboard."
This is why society's broken.
Because of my attention to detail?
No, because of people trying to break the system.
I'm not trying to break the system. I paid for a warranty on that laptop. Well, work paid for a warranty on that laptop.
Okay.
Perfectly reasonable use of,
yeah. Well, if work paid for the warranty, then there's no problem with admitting that you were at fault.
Well, but if they don't honor the warranty because I did something that's outside.
Well, what's outside the warranty is water damage, it sounds like.
Everything else is inside?
For the most part. I guess it depends on the warranty level that you bought.
I would figure, like, if you took a plug... Care. If you took a plug for a lamp, cut it off, stripped the two wires, and jammed them in the USB ports, I bet that's not covered. If you're a genius, let us know. We'd love to hear.
Yeah, I'd love to know what is and what isn't covered. I'm sure they can't divulge that information.
Well, they can divulge it anonymously. The email address is tips@tested.com. You want to talk about news? There's kind of surprisingly thin amount of news this week.
It's not much.
Some of it's pretty big, though. Google this morning announced Blink. Blink is a Chrome-specific fork of WebKit. So WebKit is the renderer that powers Safari and Chrome and Opera now. What else? I think it started.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah, so it started as the web browser in KDE, Linux. Conqueror is what it started as.
It's out of KHTML.
Yeah, so Chrome's been using WebKit since Chrome launched, basically.
And this is a big difference from what Firefox and what IE had been using.
So IE had, at that point, until Chrome launched, until Safari launched, we kind of hadn't heard about marketing the underlying renderer for web pages. But basically what Google is saying is that they need to spin out WebKit because of some limitations of the way WebKit is designed don't really align with the way Chrome works. So Chromium, yeah. So unlike say Safari or Firefox, where the browser operates in one process and each tab shares resources in that one process, in Chrome, each browser tab is its own process. So that means if you have a browser open with Tested and YouTube and Facebook and Gmail,
you can go into your process manager and you can see that certain tabs are taking hundreds and hundreds of megs.
Yes.
While some are taking less because they're less resource intensive.
But the benefit, and the reason I started using Chrome in the first place, was that if if one of the tabs crashes, if one of the websites crashes, only that tab is affected, and the rest of the browser just goes on working as normal.
Absolutely.
For the most part.
Unless some plugins crash.
Yeah, sometimes something bad happens.
If Shockwave Flash crashes, then it crashes across all browsers.
Yeah.
All your instances.
Yeah.
One issue I have with the current system, and it's just a byproduct of the way I use Chrome, is if I want to forcibly shut down all my Chrome browsers, you can't do that.
From Activity or Task Manager, Activity Manager.
You have to shut down individual processes.
You can kill the parent process, and it should take them all down. Yeah, it's hard to find though because it looks exactly like all the others.
Yeah, and the reason I would do that is because I actually favor it wipes out, clears the memory, and also when I come back, I can restore exactly the tabs I want.
Gotcha.
Like if I close Firefox, that happens because
Yeah.
all the tabs close, and then when I come back, I get all the tabs back. But if I shut down Chrome one at a time, or if I close all at once, it doesn't necessarily restore.
Well, but you can always go into the history or frequently used sites tab, and there's a thing along the bottom of the
Sometimes
default
it works.
tab.
Sometimes
It does lose it occasionally.
Does not
yes.
work.
So yeah, the Opera is also going to use Blink. They've come out and said that they just recently switched from their own renderer to WebKit, and now they're gonna use Google's fork. And it's interesting because it seems like from the rumor / behind the scenes leaks that we've seen from Google, this was a really fast decision on the order of a couple of weeks, not even a couple of months. So yeah, it's unclear which version of Chrome this will release in, but probably, given the release schedule that they're on, I would assume it will be like at most 1 or 2 out, and that will make the dev builds of Chrome very interesting for a while.
Okay.
On the same note, Samsung and Mozilla announced a partnership earlier this week to build an ARM-based renderer that they're calling Servo. So that presumably is for Android phones and maybe other OS phones in the future. Apple rumors. We're into the time of year that we start hearing about iPhones and iOS and stuff like that. And of course, we all know that Scott Forstall was sacked last year.
He was head of the software, head of iOS.
Yep, and OS 10 and iLife and all the other stuff.
His responsibilities were given to Johnny Ive.
Well, they were split up between a bunch of people, but the OS responsibilities were given to Johnny Ive, who has publicly said he wanted flat. He likes flatter apps. So the kind of two-dimensional, not fancy textures, no skeuomorphism,
No
all
drop
that kind of
shadows.
stuff. I don't know where. I guess he doesn't like drop shadows if he likes flat. I don't know where drop shadows fall into this. Do you like drop shadows?
I'm not a creative. I do like drop shadows.
When you said creative just then, was that with derision?
Possibly.
Okay.
I love drop shadows.
So there aren't really a ton. I guess there are some drop shadows. When you open like a folder in iOS, there's a shadow around the edge of the folder. My background's
I like
real
that
dark.
virtual the bottom whatchamacallit,
The tray?
iOS, the tray. I like the reflections and that fake depth.
Oh, you mean on the home screen, the springboard?
Yeah.
Well, that's a OS 10 thing too. Like
Yeah,
that's
I
lifted straight
totally
from
like
OS
that.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I like the stuff that I have a problem with more than anything else is the skeuomorphism. If you look at like the Reminder app that looks like a piece of paper,
You're saying skeuomorphic aesthetic.
Yes, I am not a fan of that. Although
Not
I have
skeuomorph. There is no skeuomorph. I mean, there's skeuomorphism everywhere, but
Yeah.
you're talking about from the aesthetic perspective.
I'm talking
from
about the design aesthetic of using physical objects to evoke in digital environments to
Because
evoke.
skeuomorphism technically is what it is like in the timer app scrolling up for numbers, because that is supposed to be comparable to the analog action of scrolling a dial.
Yeah.
That is skeuomorphism.
I'm comfortable saying that I'm not. I think there's a better way to do that,
It's typing in the digits.
or another way that doesn't evoke necessarily an analog dial.
All right.
Like mimicking analog interfaces, real world interfaces on a touchscreen. Although I have to say I do like the Swiss clock face on the world clock on iPad. I think that's pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
every analog clock is skeuomorphism.
Yes. Well, on a digital device. The calendar has always been the worst offender of this.
That
'cause
is the one that everyone calls out.
It doesn't. It makes no sense to have a fold in the
So
middle.
you're saying none of that in next iOS,
Well,
iOS 7?
that's the rumor. The
Okay.
rumor is that iOS 7 is running behind because of the change in October, I think, or September. I can't remember exactly when that happened. But yeah, so Johnny Ive's in charge of the team. It will, by all reports, include a more modern, flat design, and that they're running behind. So they're pulling resources from the OS 10 team for
That's going to be a
iOS
big
7.
change. That's going to be the biggest visual change on iOS since
Could be.
iOS came out.
I mean, the question is, does that mean they're going to change core like OS tropes? Is this wall of icons going to go away, or
I don't think they can do that.
at this point, I think probably they would have a hard time if they tried that. I don't know. I think we'll see a lot fewer textured surfaces. I think that the dudes who make textures for OSs at Apple are probably looking for new work elsewhere.
My
now.
prediction is that there's going to be a backlash against this.
There's
And I
going to be.
think it's
That's
gonna
a safe
alienate-
prediction.
And I think it's going to alienate the mainstream user.
The old people. You think my dad is going to be confused?
Yeah, I think flat surfaces look good, but it's not as warm and friendly.
See, I bet the old people don't notice. I bet the people who don't know what this is don't even notice that anything changes. I'm looking at the home screen of my iPad right now, and how many Apple apps do you have visible?
Just on the home screen of a
Just on the home screen.
iPad or iPhone.
iPad.
I don't know.
I have
Many.
4. The apps, 5. App Store settings. Well, no, 4, 5, 6,
that-
7, 8.
that-
8.
It just that depends on how you use your iPad. And,
I guess that's true.
I mean, it's a spatial thing. I know my first screen is always with default apps, and my second screen is my most used apps. I don't mind having that one extra.
You don't mind
swipe.
swiping over?
No.
Oh, see, I put the most used stuff on the home screen.
Yeah, everyone does differently.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I know some lunatics who do color coding.
Yeah.
It's insane. I'm going back to our notes here to talk about what we're looking at. Reuters.
Reuters. It's Reuters.
Not Reuters.
Thomson Reuters.
Is that what his first name was Thompson?
No, it's two last names.
Really? Who were these people?
I'm not exactly sure. It's
Like
a news service.
Were they the people that made those things that went not
don't
like the
know.
Morse code things, but like the stock tickers?
And there's actually a good question because I remember in high school debate, when you're supposed to cite your sources,
Yeah.
people would say Reuters, and debaters would call them out for not having the actual author name and not understanding what Reuters as a news service like the AP is.
That sounds unnecessarily pedantic.
Welcome to high school debate.
Okay, fair enough. Reuters is reporting that a Nexus 7 follow-up is in production for July.
Two sources.
Two sources. So
Real news.
Probably someone at ASUS and at Google.
Yeah. So the surprising news is that is not that there will be a new Nexus 7 coming out this year. I think everyone kind of anticipated that.
Or
Nexus 7 has been. They've already updated it. They did one update in the fall to add 3G and increase the capacity.
Yeah.
But that's selling very well for Google as a $200 device, and I think they've sold a little over 4 million so far, maybe close to 5 million, and they want to sell even more this year, especially
lot.
with the introduction of the iPad Mini in the fall of last year. So no surprise that a new Nexus 7 is going to come out this summer. No surprise that it will likely be announced at Google I/O, and those attendees will likely get one. Judging by the history of the Nexus 7 last year, that was first kind of shown off at CES. And they made a big deal about how fast the development was.
Well, but it was quietly shown off and
It was
not
quietly
as a
shown
Google
off as
flagship product.
no Google. It was shown off as a low-cost tablet that
Yeah.
had very good specs, Tegra 3, decent screen, and that ASUS was targeting, close to $200. And obviously, Google saw an opportunity here, and they worked together very closely to create the Nexus 7, which is an amazing achievement that they could do that in basically 4 months, 4.5 months to start production in May.
It's a testament to off the shelf to using an open platform that has
Well, ASUS is a big company
Yeah.
also, with a lot of experience making tablets. And start production in May, announced in June, started shipping in July. We're talking here about Google I/O being actually in May. So if that's something that's going to actually be shown on stage and given out to attendees, then it should be in production now.
Yeah.
already.
But Google's also in the past given out like essentially vouchers for something, so they'll mail something to people later. I think the first Chromebooks.
I don't think they're going to do that. I think they actually want to show something. The impact of actually having something to show and to give away and have the press around that is substantial. Especially if this is their big event once a year.
Previous years, what they've done is released. At first, it was one product, then it was two products, and then I think last year there were three products because they gave away Galaxy Nexus, a Nexus 7, and a Chromebook, right?
Last year?
Yeah.
Last year was the Orb.
Oh, right, the Orb. It was the year before that was was the Galaxy Nexus. Last year they gave away three things.
They gave away many things. They gave away Nexus 7.
Yeah.
They gave away
maybe there was no phone last
the
year.
music thing. No, I think they also gave away a phone.
The
regardless.
Chromebooks were time delayed, though, is the point.
Yes. Regardless, no surprise, but the big surprise is that they're sticking with ASUS, and they're not changing the Nexus 7 to a new potential. Again, it's all based on reports that they're changing to a new manufacturer. And those reports also say that it will be a Qualcomm processor
Rather than a Tegra.
rather than NVIDIA Tegra 4, maybe due to costs. And obviously have a high resolution screen. And the last bit of rumor is that it might even launch at $150.
So Google's done a good job on the phone side with the Nexus line not playing favorites. They've done, let's see, one HTC phone, one Samsung phone.
Yeah, let's see if we remember. So
two Samsung phones.
The very first, they've been two HTC start because the very first...
The Nexus 1.
No, before that. Oh, I guess that's the first Nexus. But
Yeah.
we're talking about the G1,
Well,
was also an HTC.
That doesn't count. I'd take that out of the because that was
there
that was proto Android. It's not
Actually, technically, the first three were HTC.
right. HTC was early on Android.
Yeah, because you had the G1 with the keyboard, then you had the one with the nub, which I think was the Magic on T-Mobile, and then after that was the Nexus 1. So in terms of Nexus devices in the Nexus program, HTC to start.
Yep.
Then you had
Samsung Galaxy S.
Galaxy S with a curved screen.
Yep. Then the Nexus.
Then that was
Galaxy
called the
Nexus.
Right, so it was called Nexus, Nexus S, Galaxy Nexus, and the Nexus 4.
4, yeah.
So they've done Samsung twice, HTC once, and LG once. Companies that they have not worked with the Nexus program that do high-profile Android phones include Sony and Motorola.
And I guess that's it.
Samsung and
Samsung and
Sony.
Motorola.
I'm sorry, Sony and Motorola. And it's
Yeah.
very unlikely, I think, that Google would want to do a GS4 or Samsung, for that matter, a GS4 Nexus.
I don't think Sony's in the business of removing their marketing from stuff.
So you don't think Sony?
I don't think there's going to be a Sony Nexus.
I think it'll be either a Motorola or LG again.
I don't think they're going to do Motorola because they don't want to scare off all the other partners. They've done a good job distributing the partnerships.
So they've also done a good job just basically letting Motorola go to waste.
Well, patents. That's why patents are dumb. I guess that's it for the
Nexus 7.
Nexus 7 rumor.
Yeah, so don't buy a Nexus 7 right now. If you can wait till July or wait until a month in May for them to make some type of announcement at I/O, get it then, pre-order then.
It's a good little tablet.
I think it will be very high demand.
Yeah.
They want to sell 8 million of those this year, which, if you compare that to iOS, may not be that many, but when we were talking about 3 years, 2 years of basically very slow Android tablet growth.
Yeah.
Last year was a big year for them.
Yeah, that was the product that finally cracked the Android tablet market open.
And way more so than the Nexus 10, which I don't know. I'm sure some people love it and use it, but has not had the same traction.
I think that the fundamental problem with 10-inch tablets is 16 by 9 10-inch tablets are weird. It's a weird shape. It's unwieldy and
16
long.
by 9 or 16 by 10.
Yeah, I'm just saying, not for if you're going to make a 10-inch tablet, make it the paper resolution or paper aspect ratio, like an 8x5 piece of paper. It's like an iPad, Norm. Is what I'm saying.
4x3.
4x3. Twitter updated clients across for iOS and Android. The Android one is a big change because it's actually hollow. It uses the design language of Android 4.0. Finally, 2 or 3 revisions into the OS.
I haven't noticed any difference on iOS.
Are you using
I'm using Twitter.
You don't use Tweetbot?
No.
Really?
I like stock apps.
Wow, that's crazy. The new app includes cards, so you can see your YouTube stuff inside the Twitter stream, which is awesome, I guess. Bad news on the game development front. Disney has shut down LucasArts today and killed the 2 projects that were in the pipeline there. One of them I'd never heard of them, but one of them was the Coruscant shooter 1313, right? Which is ideally
Level 1313.
Yeah,
of the underground one.
Yeah. It looked really awesome at E3 last year. It was pitched as a next-gen thing, but they have shut down all internal development and are going to do licensed games, which I feel like we've had this conversation about LucasArts before. I feel like this happened to LucasArts in like 5-6 years ago when they were releasing like Star Wars Battlefront and those kind of games. We're seeing massive external success with partners, third-party partners.
It's low risk.
Right. It's a licensing fee.
is free money. And especially if you're not as protective of the brand as you used to be. Yoda toilet paper.
My bet is that that Disney's gonna end up being more protective with Star Wars in the very beginning of this relationship.
Do you think there's a chance that they would let someone else develop that 1313 game?
I'm not in a position. It depends on how far along it is, right? I mean, if it's something that somebody can come put 2 years worth of work in and pick up, like when you do that, you have to pick up the existing team, really. Otherwise, it's a do-over from scratch, and they just take the design doc and assets and start building from scratch.
Very, very sad and unfortunate.
Was it an Unreal Engine game? Or do we know?
No,
it was just a custom.
I think it was custom.
Yeah, that's crazy. LucasArts, I only mention this because literally, like, LucasArts is one of the reasons that I do what I do today, right? Like, I got into PC gaming because of games like X-Wing and TIE Fighter, and
Monkey Island.
and in fairness, also like Doom and Wolfenstein and Duke 3D. But that's how I learned about computers, was by playing early PC games.
Oh yeah, games is scum.
Yeah, in order to run TIE Fighter and Doom, you had to understand how to configure memory managers and DOS and Windows and all that stuff.
To some extent.
Okay, in order to run them on a cheap computer, you
Yes.
had to understand how to configure all that stuff. I had a cheap computer, which went a long way. Once I got a Pentium 60, all bets were off.
TIE Fighter ran on a 4666.
TIE Fighter was one of the things that would run awesome on my 386. Yeah. It was Doom. Doom wouldn't run without a math coprocessor and ran poorly on a 386. 4633 was crazy, though. That's megahertz, guys, in case you're
33 megahertz.
Megahertz. That's million hertz. Million cycles per second.
Wow.
Do you remember those chips? They didn't have coolers on them.
Yep. Exposed.
It was just like it was a big gray thing that said Intel inside and had the little Intel logo on it.
Yeah. It wasn't until Pentiums that they had heat sinks, at least.
Even my Pentium 60 didn't have a heatsink. It wasn't until I got a Pentium
Well,
133
they
or
were
166
encased in the Pentiums were.
It had a heat spreader.
Yeah, heat spreader. That's what I mean. Yeah.
But no fins.
No.
I remember when the fin processor started coming out, people were complaining that it went the beginning of the end for computers.
Well, those
start making
those
too
weren't
much
sockets.
noise.
Those were
Yeah, those were socket. Oh, the slotted ones
They
is
were
what you're
slotted
talking
ones.
about. That was
Pentium 2 and Celeron.
Yeah, but even the Pentium 133s had heat sinks, just no fans. That was also that all happened because of memory stuff. There was weird memory stuff that happened around that time. So yeah, rip LucasArts. I'm bummed about.
What's your favorite LucasArts game from that era?
From the early days?
Early days. Only early days. Let's say
Like 90s or?
let's say 90s, but let's say not 3D graphics.
I'll give you.
no 3D accelerator needed.
So it's real tough between, like, say, Dark Forces 2,
Jedi
1,
Knight, which did not need a 3D accelerator.
2D rendered game.
2D rendered, but it was polygons.
It would look better with a 3D accelerator. Or TIE Fighter. I played a lot of TIE Fighter and X-Wing, but mostly TIE Fighter. TIE Fighter was pretty amazing. What about you?
Monkey Island.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I never got into the Scum games that much. Yeah, I know, I'm crazy. Yeah,
games.
and then you got to look hard at KOTOR as a seminal game in this. Like, that was the best of the Star Wars games, I think, ever.
I don't know. I like Jedi Knight 2 after that.
Jedi Knight 2 is pretty. Jedi Knight 2, the Quake Engine one, that was a pretty good game too. So yeah, rip LucasArts and good luck to all the people who are now probably hunting for work. The next news is actually pretty big, and it's one of those quiet, small things that has the potential to change the world. So there's this company called Aereo that we talked about in last year or earlier this year. I can't remember which. But they basically have built a technology that allows them to put a whole boatload of TV antennas in a market, and then they sell time on those antennas to people who want to get local TV but don't want to put an antenna up and don't want to pay for cable.
It was streaming of local TV from other people, and
Yes.
other people lend and lease out their time to upstream,
Yes.
to encode and upstream.
Yes. So the thing is, theoretically, you're not allowed to do this. It seems like the easy way to do this would be to set up a machine with 4 tuners and just record everything that's on over-the-air TV for all the time,
And then
then
upload
just
that to a
serve
server.
those files out to people who want to watch Friends, right? But you can't do that because that's a violation of copyright. So what these guys said was, look, TV antennas are cheap and streaming stuff is cheap. So why don't we just build a system that allows us to basically assign a tuner to each subscriber anytime they're watching, and then it's no longer copyright infringement. The internet at that point is just a translation layer. It's like a pipe from an antenna to this person's house or
So
iPad
it is a
or
box
iPhone.
that people buy.
It's not a box.
Not
the
a-
box is all remote.
Okay.
So you sign up for a service and download an app or download go to a web page on your PC, and then from that point you can watch any number.
Well, I'm saying to upstream, to upload.
It's not. You don't upload.
So where are you getting?
It's in a
content
data
from?
center. So
Oh, it's a
there's
data center.
there's a data center with all these antennas, and there's a picture on The Verge of
So
the antennas.
they are building the infrastructure to serve
Yeah,
local TV, but they have to build it in every
each market. Yeah, in each of the markets. So right now it's only in New York.
Okay.
I didn't actually look at the pricing. Maybe you can look that up while I explain what's happened. But yeah, so they got sued, unsurprisingly, by the TV networks. Now, right now, if you sign up for the service, you only get over-the-air broadcast networks, which in a big market like New York is NBC, CBS, Fox. I assume something WB or UPN or whatever that is these days. CW, maybe? Is that what it's called?
CW.
And then like all the foreign language channels. Like here we have channels that are in Spanish and Chinese and Mandarin and Cantonese and Korean and all sorts of different languages. They also have Home Shopping Network and a few other things. And then there's also some like local government channels, like the local, like I think the closed circuit TV for the city of New York courthouse and stuff like that is on there.
But you are leasing their space, the DVR space.
You are paying a service that gives you access to tuners, and you can
storage.
schedule the tuners to record stuff if you want. Yeah.
It's $8 a month right now.
That's pretty. That seems like a really good price for this service to me. You have to be in the market, so you can't live in San Francisco and subscribe to New York TV. But if you're in New York, you can sign up for this and kill the cheap base. Now, what you don't get are channels like ESPN or
Any
Disney
cable, any
or
paid cable channels.
well, you get Home Shopping Network, so you can watch the Knife Show.
Okay.
But other than that, yeah, there's
Who doesn't
no
like Knife Show?
no actual cable channels. And of course, you can't get HBO and things like that. But what happened was they got sued for copyright infringement because the network said, "Hey, this is violating our copyright," and the Second Circuit Court of Appeals just declined a request by the TV networks to issue a preliminary injunction against the service. So that is it's a positive move forward for these people as they continue to fight the networks. Now, why is this important?
It means it's actually one step toward cable cutting
Yeah. So if you
for basic service, at least for now.
once you get to a point, once they get to a number of subscribers that is interesting, right now, obviously there's no NBC Universal channels on there because Comcast owns NBC, and Comcast is probably not going to allow Bravo and Lifetime and not Discovery. Anyway, all the large family of NBC / Comcast owned channels up there. What will happen eventually, though, is that HBO will look at them having 20 million subscribers and say, "Oh, if we can get $10 a month from these 20 million subscribers, then that is more than the amount that Comcast is going." Like at some point, the math will get right for the premium content providers that are not owned by media conglomerates to sign on. And when that
But the
happens,
content providers have to sign on.
The content providers have to sign on because right now the way ESPN makes money is they sell ads that air on the show, but also Comcast pays them X number of users, X number of dollars per person who connects to their network for the privilege of carrying ESPN.
Period.
Yeah, connected to Comcast. Whether you watch, if you never watch ESPN, Comcast is paying $4 a month or whatever the amount of money is to ESPN because they carry that channel. Same thing for every channel on the network, aside from stuff like home shopping and some of the stuff that they have to carry legally. So
It's in your interest to consume as much content as you can.
Well,
if you pay for cable.
That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is just not pay for cable anymore and spend more time doing something productive. But yeah, so as the number of subscribers for this kind of delocalized content provider increase, the more we'll see other providers coming on board, and maybe even like smaller third-party networks. Like it wouldn't surprise me if at some point these folks carry a Geek and Sundry channel or a Nerdist channel or
and really their innovation is that it's cloud DVR and it can run on any device.
Yeah,
and they are putting locally broadcast content into that.
So they found a way to disrupt, to bypass the copyright provisions involved with broadcast TV. It's really interesting. Like I said, right now it's probably not for everybody, but for $8 a month, like if I wanted to watch TV in my New York apartment and didn't want to pay for cable,
you are still paying for some Time Warner there. You're still paying for internet. Yeah,
exactly. So Rdio launched a video service today, or yesterday, sorry.
It is called, called Rdio.
What an amazing... So
Rdio.
So first they killed the A and now they kill the I?
Yep, VDIO.
Okay. It's all you can eat.
So it's even
it's not all you
wrong.
can eat, sorry.
Like V...
Wow, it's spelled wrong twice.
Yep. Rdio.
Oh, that's terrible. It's an unfortunate name.
It is not like Rdio, the service.
Oh, it's not an all-you-can-eat sub-service?
It's absolutely not an all-you-can-eat sub-service. It is a la carte, you buy or rent TV shows or movies.
That's pretty much it. They don't delineate the difference between standard def and high def content on the service yet, which is a little bit of a bummer. They always provide you the best quality service that you can accommodate, according to The Verge or Ars Technica, or wherever I read about this. TV shows seem to be $3 each, which is iTunes standard. Movies are around 15 and go up and down depending on what they are if you want to purchase them, or you can rent something for $5. But there's no apps, right? I mean, there's limited apps. I guess you have an iPad app, but you can't purchase from inside the iPad app, and there's nothing on Rdio on
it's
Apple
a very basic
TV
service
or
to compete
Xbox
with,
or
to compete with YouTube and Google and Voodoo and all those other.
If you have an existing Rdio app on your set-top box, will that work with the video service or no?
No, they gotta develop separate apps.
Separate apps. Yeah. Okay, that's a bummer. Amazon this week, in what I thought was probably an April Fool's joke when I first read it, they added auto rip support to vinyl purchases. So we talked about auto rip. Do you remember auto rip?
So if you buy vinyl,
yeah,
you get to download the songs immediately.
Yeah,
and then wait for your vinyl to arrive.
Yeah. So if you're a collector,
and how is Amazon actually getting this audio? Are they selling you the MP3s from the CDs?
I'm sure it's MP3s ripped from CDs.
Okay, something special. It's a good.
So if you're saying if they rip the MP3s from the vinyl, you'd be more into that.
Flax.
They don't give flax. It's 320 kilobit MP3s, I believe.
Then no. I don't think people are buying vinyl. I don't think many people are buying vinyl as the only way to hold the songs they have. You're not buying.
No, you buy vinyl because either you're into vinyl and that's why you like to listen to music, and you get up and put the disc on the platter on the player.
Sure, but I think those people also have the same songs in other formats.
Well, now they definitely do.
Now they do, but I don't think they needed this service.
I would never have considered buying vinyl from Amazon. I don't buy vinyl. I think
people buy vinyl to collect it, and they do enjoy the sound of it.
Yeah.
But those people probably have those songs in other formats.
Probably.
In CD or MP3, so the service does very little to them. As opposed to buying a CD, I think people buy CDs as...
Yeah, I buy a CD, rip it, chuck it in the garage, and never look at it again.
Right.
I don't know. It was interesting. Not an April Fool's joke. I like the auto rip feature a lot. I don't buy CDs anymore, but it was really nice flipping on my Amazon Cloud Player one day and seeing 3,000 songs pop up that weren't there previously.
What were the big April Fool's jokes?
I didn't pay attention. The best thing that I saw, I watched 3 things. The best thing I saw was the YouTube video where they said, "Okay, we're done. We've great experiment. The contest is almost over. Submit your last videos to YouTube by midnight on April 1st, and we're going to spend the next 8 years figuring out which the best video of all time is." And they went through this whole elaborate thing where they had a process. It was really dumb, but pretty funny.
As I think more dumb than funny.
It was the right. Did you watch it?
No.
It was very well done.
All right. I'll take your word for it.
What was your funny? Also, that was the only thing I watched on April Fool's.
Google also did their annual April Fool's joke with the maps.
The pirate maps?
Yeah.
Didn't Bing do that like 3 years ago? Isn't that? I feel like that was a recycled joke.
Yeah, that could be. I don't like April Fool's Day.
Well, here's the problem. Can we talk? Okay, so let's talk about
Open
this.
forum.
The problem with April Fool's Day on the internet in the context of technology and gaming news sites is that it is not about playing hilarious pranks on your coworkers, friends, and neighbors.
That is the purpose of the true meaning of April Fool's Day?
Well, in Will Smith's mind, it is.
The
I'm sure
ghost of
the
April Fool's past and future has informed you that April Fool's is meant to play lighthearted, but creative
maybe
jokes
perhaps
on your
occasionally
coworkers and
cruel,
friends.
even. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
For example, when we were at Maximum PC, one of my favorite things to do on April Fool's was get into work before Gordon would get there, and then I'd put some sort of horrible USB device inside his computer that would either sporadically take control of his mouse and make it squiggle all over the place.
That's terrible.
Or put a beeping a sporadic beeping noise in there.
You are what's wrong with America.
No, this is nothing wrong with this. One time I glued a whistle to the inside of the air conditioning vents.
That's terrible.
So that it would whistle every time the air conditioning would go. What else? The time I made every phone in the office ring at once. That was pretty good because that was really freaky. Because you can queue up 20 calls in Skype, and you just.
I don't think that was even for April Fool's. I think
I just did that because it was Tuesday afternoon. I was bored. Yeah. That's probably true. That is the meaning of April Fool's is pranks. What people on the internet do, because it's hard to play a prank on the 400,000 people that read a website, is they just make fake news. So the format is really simple, right?
That's the prank. That's their idea of the prank.
No, that's not a prank. That's lying. That's different. These are two different things. One is
you're a regular Martha Stewart.
Is a practical joke. Why am I a regular Martha Stewart?
Did you not see the Good Morning America thing?
No.
They asked. They played a joke, a prank on the host of Good Morning America. Or it could have been Today's Show, one of those morning shows where Martha Stewart was a guest on there.
Yeah.
And it was a Improv Everywhere.
Okay.
The guy who runs it and his wife.
Those guys are funny.
And the idea was that it would be a marriage proposal gone terribly wrong. So he proposed on air while being a guest. The producers were in on it and got him as a guest. And the girl started crying and begging that the cameras be turned off.
So who's the object of the joke? Martha Stewart? Everybody else knows?
The host. Only the hosts, including Martha Stewart. And the reactions were horrific.
Who were the hosts? Do you remember?
I don't watch morning television. I don't know their names.
Okay.
Martha Stewart was a guest on it, but...
Well, you know Martha Stewart, so you know some of the people there.
And it was a guest host, I guess. And afterward, she said, "Goodbye, liars."
Yeah.
So
the point is... So the format for the lie news story is really straightforward, right? First, you take something that is improbable but possibly plausible. That's the first paragraph. So, for example, let's make an April Fool's story right now.
Okay. Not so easy.
No, you gotta get the setup right. Okay, so here's the setup. Norman is going to go run the App Store at Apple, right? This is your new job.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Second paragraph includes a fake quote from Johnny Ive or Tim what's his name? Cook. Saying basically great asset, blah blah blah, all the normal bullshit that is in one of these.
That's a poorly constructed April Fool's joke.
Well, I just did it while we were sitting right here. But the thing about the second paragraph is you have to start dropping hints that perhaps this could be an April Fool's joke. And then the third paragraph theoretically should be the big payoff that lets everyone know that this was a joke and it's April Fool's and that you're all chuds. Now, the place where it goes wrong on the internet is a lot of people don't have a good grasp of what kind of how gullible the world at large is,
or what short attention spans.
right? And they either never get to the third paragraph or it's not blatantly obvious
Reading
enough.
comprehension 0.
Right. So then what happens is
Low
you
marks.
have large numbers of people posting all over social networks that, oh my God, I can't believe that this is happening. And they're going to shut down YouTube. Or what was the one on the...
Adam Boys.
Yeah, Adam Boys is going to run EA.
Except the whole press release for that one
Was a
had
joke.
no hint. No.
Oh, really?
Was written to be serious.
Except for it came from his company and not EA.
No, he didn't do it. It wasn't him.
Oh, who did it?
I don't know. He's pretty pissed off about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I would see how that would be a problem. I figured that. Okay, anyway. The upshot is it's dumb. All around dumb. Lying to your audience if you run a website is not a good idea.
Well, other sites try to do clever things like reskin their website.
That can be funny.
Okay.
If you make it look like it's like 1997 again, nothing but tables and frames,
Then you're not original.
go
particularly.
nuts. I don't care, but at least that doesn't hurt anyone.
No, there's some funny stuff. The College Humor or Funny or Die did a bunch of
Funny or
sketches.
Die is a site about comedy. It's okay for them to lie to people. They're not in the
Okay.
business of telling you the truth most of the time.
Who else did some good April Fool's jokes?
I bet The Onion really nailed it. They probably just did straight news that day.
Oh, those guys. Okay, I was bummed out because the guys, James Franco and his friends,
Okay.
who have that movie coming out this summer about the world ending,
Okay.
did a fake trailer for Pineapple Express 2.
Oh my God, really?
And at the end, it was really because it's all the same actors. It's
Yeah,
James
they
Franco.
all hang out together.
It's
and
Danny McBride.
Yeah.
It's who's the other guy in
Seth Rogen?
Seth Rogen. Yep, Seth Rogen and Craig.
Kilborn.
No, the guy from The Office. Craig
Oh,
Robinson.
Craig Robinson.
They were all in Pineapple Express.
Yeah.
And now they're all in this other movie. So they
Oh.
all did a trailer that was actually a trailer for their new movie, which I'm not going to name because I want to give them too much credit. But it was posing as a trailer for Pineapple Express 2, which I would have wanted more.
I would have been excited about a Pineapple
So
Express 2
I was
trailer.
bummed out about that.
See, that's another way that lying to your audience hurts people. Norm is disappointed. His faith in James Franco
know.
is
I
less
don't
now than
know.
it was before.
I don't know if I'm hurt.
You look pained.
That's slight disappointment.
Google launched fucking Gmail on April Fool's Day.
Yeah, there's a lot of real news that's announced on April Fool's Day.
Don't ever do that. It's a terrible day to announce real
You know,
news.
it was unfortunate because April Fool's was on a Monday.
Yeah.
This year, and Monday is typically when people want to get ahead of the news cycle.
Yeah.
And make their big announcements. So things like Dark Horse Comics planning on issuing or doing a comic book miniseries based on maxi series based on the Star Wars, the original script for Star Wars written by George Lucas with
Wow.
Star Killer. That was also announced on April Fool's Day.
Is that a real thing
It's
or
a
is that
real
a
thing.
fake?
It's a
Oh.
real thing.
Yeah, so the thing is, good, interesting, real stuff gets lost in the way of inanity and people being not funny.
And
So
also people trying to be above being not funny on the internet because
what
that's
are
how
you-
the internet works.
Are you suggesting that I'm a person trying to be above the
no.
not funny?
Everyone on Reddit
Oh.
or other
So
websites.
Reddit, I gotta assume, is a place that if you're trying to be
just
funny
don't-
and you're not funny,
Yeah, you get called out on that. Real
is
fast.
pretty bad.
Yeah,
Good for Reddit.
yeah.
The worst thing in the world is people who aren't funny trying to be funny and failing miserably. It's like watching somebody sing karaoke and
You should
and
always
just-
be super self-conscious.
Oh yeah, if you aren't 100% sure that what you're doing is really dumb and funny, then don't do it. Did you see the Sphero thing?
No, I did not see the Sphero thing.
So-
you know, and I'm not a big fan of Sphero.
I know you don't like the Sphero to begin with,
like Sphero.
but what they did do was make a huge Sphero, and they actually made it. So I against my better judgment, I went and looked at the video, and it is like a 5-foot Sphero, and it looks like a giant. It's like the balls from
they didn't
Futurama.
really need to have that on April Fool's.
No, I would have posted that if it had been anything but an April Fool's video. I probably would have posted it because it's dumb and funny. But
All right.
there we go. Lessons learned. Speaking of things that should have been April Fools, Pixar is making Finding Dory next winter. 2 winters from now.
Oh, Disney.
I guess that'll
Thanks
do
a
it
lot,
for news.
Disney.
Do you have anything
Thanks
else?
a lot, Disney.
I like Dory and I like Finding Nemo, but
I
Cinderella 2, the Cinderella stories.
Yeah. Well, the first movie was set in Australia, and apparently this is going to be set a year and a half later. But in America, they'll travel across the ocean.
I don't think clownfish leave tropical waters, but I'm not an ichthyologist. Does that mean they won't have the turtles? If there are no turtles, then I guess the turtles can go anywhere. Do turtles migrate? I don't know. These are all questions that have to be answered.
These are questions that you'll probably learn with the movie Disney Pixar's Finding Dory.
I'm going to play the
music.
music.
I would rather watch that than watch Disney Pixar's just Disney's Planes, based on the popularity of Cars and Cars 2.
Yeah.
A spin-off franchise that was supposed to be direct-to-DVD called Planes, starring, I believe, Dane Cook as the voice of Prop Duster. That movie has now been called up to the big leagues for theatrical release.
It's been called up to the big leagues for theatrical release 2 years ago. That's nothing new.
Planes.
I know.
No thanks.
You're not going to go for... Is that the first Pixar movie you'll skip?
That's not a Pixar movie.
Oh, it's just Disney.
Just Disney.
They're not putting the Pixar name on it?
No.
Really?
No. Pixar's not producing it.
So one of the stories that came out of the Steve Jobs, the Pixar, the acquisition of Pixar by Disney and Steve suddenly being on the board at Disney, was that he went in and said, "Hey, you assholes, stop making these shitty direct-to-DVD movies like Aladdin 2: The Return of Jafar," and killed a bunch of those. Guess what's happening? Oh, gross. I'm going to play the music, and then we're going to talk about what we've been testing, and it is a doozy this week. Norm, do you like juice?
Now I do.
Had you juiced before?
Of course I've juiced before. We've all juiced before. Tests can't prove it, but we know we've done it.
Well, I mean, look at this body.
Yeah. I mean, how else that
doesn't
ERA?
happen by accident.
No. No. Who's your supplier?
I got a guy in the East Bay. He used to work with well, I can't say. Right. No, we're talking about vegetable and fruit juice, mostly vegetable juice, but also fruit juice. Had you done that kind of juicing before?
Yes.
I know you're into steroids, but
in terms of drinking juice, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and making juice, yes.
Yes.
But I like orange juice. That is my favorite juice.
It's your juice of choice?
My juice of choice.
So, like a year ago, we were talking to a friend of the site, Brian Lamb, who got crazy into juicing vegetables, mostly kale, it seems like. And as a result, we went out and we're like, well, we should get a juicer. Let's get a juicer. So we got a juicer. I used it for maybe a month, and then it basically sat in my garage aging for a while. And so we busted it out, and we did a juice comparison with the juicer that Brian recommends, which is the Omega 8004, I think. 4.
Okay.
The 3 has different accessories, basically.
Okay.
And the Breville centrifugal juicers, one of the Breville centrifugal juicers. So they work on 2 different processes. Anyway, the video will be up next week, I guess. So just hang out and watch it then. But we had juice for lunch. I feel really good right now.
I feel pretty good too.
Feel good
Yeah.
still?
Yeah.
Do you have any kind of digestive rumbles or anything after all the juice?
No.
We ate
Is juice is that a muscle relaxer?
a laxative effect.
Yes.
Not,
I don't think so.
Not in my experience.
Fiber, yes.
We got all the nasty fiber out.
Right. That's the great part about juicing. You don't have to have fiber.
I don't know. You think
You can have the fiber if you want afterward. It's pretty gross.
it's real dry?
Bowls of fiber, or that's what you get. That's the punishment.
I
Fiber.
wonder if you could make that into shredded wheat, like comb it out and put it on on a table like cereal, dry it out, bake it maybe.
I don't think
I wish I hadn't put that all in the trash can.
you could pour some olive oil on it and bake anything, and it'll probably be good.
I like baked kale. So yeah, we did that. I feel like I had about 3 Red Bulls right now.
There's a lot of liquid.
We
There's a lot
ate-
of solids.
We had a lot of juice. I mean, we ate $30 worth of vegetables basically and a pineapple.
Oh.
So yeah, look forward to that. It's a weird video. We also, Jeremy Williams, friend of the site and our old podcast producer back when we had professional people doing this at previous employers, came in, and he was one of the first orders of the backers of the Oculus Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So he was like number 200 or something, and he
Backer
got his kit
109.
last week. Oh, 109, really?
109.
Wow. We were at 17 something.
Not even 15 something?
I I think we're 1507 or 1709
we're,
or something
we're
like
15.
that.
We're in the 1500s.
We should get ours next week, I think, if
Crossing
things go
fingers.
well. But he spent most of the weekend with the Oculus, and then brought it in yesterday for us to kind of futz around with and shoot some video and,
I just want to go
and
and say
experiment with.
this is a great reason, and was one of the great things about Kickstarting projects is that if you're an early backer, if you are an early adopter, and believe in certain things, and just like any type of investment, not everything's going to pan out. There are some things we've backed over a year ago. Was supposed to be promised, months ago, 6 months ago, and still haven't arrived yet. But they will. I think Kickstarters and Indiegogo and all those projects, they really reward the early backers with the product first.
Well, and the nice thing about them is you end up like. Well, the Oculus is a bad example because they would have gone and gotten money from VCs or something like that, and that product probably would have existed anyway. But a lot of other stuff like I don't know, like those spectrometers that we have coming, the public lab stuff, that wouldn't have existed without Kickstarter, and a lot of it is like that is an interesting thing.
Well, it's not only even if a company is going to get investment and they're going to make start production no matter what, regardless of Kickstarter, even using it as a pre-order system to gauge interest and immediately build a community where those people are invested, and anticipation is so high for that, that itself is worth using Kickstarter
from a user
or
perspective.
Indiegogo.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
From both a user perspective and from a starting a new company entrepreneurial perspective.
So yeah, he brought the Oculus in, and we played TF2, which I hadn't seen played anywhere before on the web. It's interesting. You should. I mean, I guess I should just say you should watch the video. We go through all the different control modes. We go through the calibration process where you set your interpupillary distance. I used it for probably 35 minutes all told, mostly consecutively. Which I was a little worried after the Hawken demo at GDC. I was a little worried that wasn't going to be possible, and it worked really well.
So I think the biggest problem or the biggest thing that they need to fix, because there are many challenges to virtual reality, which we've talked about at length before. You got latency, you got screen fidelity, but the biggest thing that people don't know about and that people have not caught on to yet is persistence of pixels, pixel refresh. Yeah. And if you're using anything but a laser projection system, you're going to get fast movement will split the pixels up, and you will get color fringing and pixel smearing.
Well, you can get. I mean, that is as they build more product and they get more supply. They have more supply. So they can buy stuff in bigger bulk. They can get faster LCDs, or they can use a different type of technology.
Judging from Michael Abrash's talk, technology just does not exist right now.
Fair enough.
And if you're talking about a refresh rate of an LCD that's, let's say, 240 hertz, which is high, that's very, very high, you're still going to notice that type of judder if you're moving your head really fast. So I think it's up to the game developers to develop games that don't require that. But
on the other hand, I mean, there are TV screen technologies that do produce much higher refresh rates. Like plasmas operate at 600 hertz. So what's the magic number? Does he know, or is it something they can't tell yet?
2,000.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, never mind. Slow movement. The blurring I found was less offensive with the Oculus, partly because the resolution's low. So when you move your head quickly, then you end up feeling like it almost looks like you're getting some filtering on the image, almost like it's blurring. And that may be the case that they can counter the by mimicking sense of motion and movement.
I mean, people are going to come up with creative ways to overcome these problems, maybe with not sheer brute force technology. For example, the low resolution screen door effect that's on the Oculus Rift, and that's something that I think Jeremy said he noticed very clearly. And people do, I mean, because it's a 1280 by 800 panel.
And you're very close to it.
And you're much close, and not only physically close, but you're magnified with the optics. Yeah. I think that some people have experimented, in some research labs have experimented ways to get rid of screen door effect by vibrating the screen very quickly so that the actual lines don't appear. I don't know if that will work for virtual reality, for HMDs, but Again, people will develop ways if this becomes a real business.
Well,
real thing.
and the pixel resolution of screens on phones has already dramatically increased in the time
Yeah, I would be
between when they
shocked.
source these panels and
I would be shocked if the consumer version, which I think they're targeting, they hope will be end of next year.
Is it end of next year or end of this year? I thought it was early next year or late this year. I don't know.
I'm going to say 2014 from what
Yeah.
I've heard and seen online.
They've been cagey about that, is what I would say.
Yeah. I would be shocked if that was not a 1080p panel or
At least,
a 1280 1200p panel or something.
Yeah. So the experience playing was how much you didn't get to play as much as I did because I
No,
was
it's
sitting with
just
the
like-
goggles
just
on.
5-10 minutes.
You became accustomed to it very quickly.
Calibration helps tremendously.
Calibration helped a ton. The one thing I will say is that I'll probably bust out the contacts if I ever want to play with this for an extended period of time because it is pretty uncomfortable with your glasses on in there. I said in the video that it's kind of like looking down a short tube, and when I say that, because you don't have full peripheral vision, but it's like wearing a scuba mask, right? Like you have a little tiny bit of a crop, so you don't have full peripheral vision. If you wear glasses, you probably wouldn't even notice it because you're used to not having peripheral vision out of the sides if you have bad
But
vision.
your focus, your attention is in the center area
Yeah.
of the screen anyway. So unless you're actively looking around to try to find the borders of the lens cups, then you won't notice it.
It's the kind of thing that in previous demos, like the only reason I noticed it yesterday is because I finally had it on long enough to say, oh, wait, what's the limit of the field of vision?
Plus, you were also trying to look at your keyboard when typing, and
Yeah.
so your eyes naturally went down to look at your fingers.
That's definitely true. It's the vertical. The thing that I noticed immediately is that you get much more vertical resolution when you're playing a game like TF2 with
Do you
the
mean
goggles
detail
on.
or just range
Field of view.
Field of view. Okay.
Yeah. The side the horizontal field of view seemed to be roughly similar to a big monitor. It's a really interesting experience. I don't think I would encourage anyone to go out and spend $300 on a
really
dev kit.
interesting experience is something you could also say about the Wii U. But
I don't know. I wouldn't call the Wii U a really interesting experience. I don't, and for the record, I don't think the Wii U is bad. I think that I think we haven't seen any software that takes advantage of it, and it's probably going to bomb out at this point because of sales. Yeah, I don't like it's. If you have a friend with a dev kit, it's the kind of thing that you should definitely go try. And don't
and
just
if you
spend
have
5
a dev
minutes at
kit
it.
and have lots of interested friends, you can charge your friends.
That would be
They will
mercenary.
pay for the crack.
Just make them bring beer, or if you're old enough to drink. If you're not, then make them bring sodas or something. I'm really interested to see where it goes and see some stuff that's developed for it. After using it at more length, the game's like it. In my mind, I wanted to believe that I was going to be able to fire up BioShock Infinite and play the first 30 minutes of that game with this thing on, unless Irrational spends a lot of time developing.
a man month.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. So expect that if you're looking at it now, you're going to play some Unity demos and TF2, and that's probably it for the foreseeable future.
I'm curious
And
about
Hawken.
the Hydra implementation and the Sixth Sense guys who make Hydra.
So
have
you're
said
saying-
that they are going to support it.
Yeah. If in fact, actually, if you pre-ordered an Oculus, then you can get a Hydra for like $50.
You can get Hydra $50 right now. There's a sale going on through end of April.
Oh, really? Okay.
For everyone. I think just go to Razor's website and sign up. And
Why are you interested in the Sixth Sense thing?
because
the Hydra?
if there's motion tracking in game, I mean, the problem is going to be controls with the keyboard and mouse. TF2 works because you're only using very few keys and you're not typing. And the Hydra even less so. All the demos given with the Oculus so far have been with the gamepad, and I think with the Hydra and one-to-one motion, two independent hands moving in game, you get a lot of interactivity.
I guess the interaction, like the thing that I'm interested in is that Neil Stevenson backed game Clang, the Kickstarter thing, which is like a one-to-one sword fighting simulation using the Hydra, as the controller.
I don't know if swords fighting is going to work because just like the Wii,
Snow Crash, man.
you have no feedback.
There's
Swords go
rumble
clang.
in
The
the
sword
Hydra.
goes clang in the game. Your hands still swipe through in air.
Fair.
One-to-one motion, it hurts. Then it's as if you were moving with your head
if-
wearing the Oculus, and suddenly your vision.
Well,
the game isn't moving, and that's very disorienting.
So the one thing people have been asking is, did I hurl while using it for 30 minutes? Because the recommended use is like 10 minutes at a time when you're starting out. I didn't throw up. I didn't even really feel nauseous. I did have a little bit of trouble focusing afterwards from focusing on something very close for an extended period of time.
Your perception changes.
It's kind of like if you, I don't know. I don't really have an analog in my experiences to describe it. But yeah, where was I going with this? Do you remember? Do you have any idea?
You were saying something.
What did you said? The Clang thing.
We're gonna hurl.
Oh, I didn't throw up. I didn't feel nauseous. The one time I did start to feel a little queasy was when we switched it to the mode that doesn't allow head tracking to do anything, and the movement is all controlled by mouse.
Yes, mode 7.
That was real bad. Don't do that. Like that. Like when you're in the goggles and you're used to them moving with your head, as soon as that stops, bad things happen.
It's really cool. People are already putting out some interesting tech demos. There's one where someone has created a virtual cinema.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a movie theater that you sit in, and you can watch a movie with other people, also possibly wearing the Oculus Rift. And if you look around, you have the experience of being inside a movie theater without being inside a movie theater.
Is there some jackass next to me with his cell phone out?
There could be.
Cool.
This could be the way to enjoy, watching Netflix in the future.
Yeah, but the screens have to get a lot better than that.
Well, yeah, absolutely, because you're talking about even lower resolution.
Yeah, it's like a window in a window.
Yep.
The interesting thing to me is that kind of heads-up display stuff. I've got to figure out a way to multiplex HDMI so we can do two different. Actually, never mind. I just figured it out. Let's I guess that's it for us today, actually. We're not going to do questions because my computer has all the questions on them, and I can't get that to work right now. But if you have emails, the way to do them is to send them via email to podcast@tested.com. Keep them short, under 45 seconds. Audio questions are preferred. We're doing some red questions these days, and we will do more questions next week, I promise. One more thing to talk about. There's a iOS game called PWN, Pwn. It's a terrible, terrible name, but the game is fucking awesome. So if you are, it's a real-time strategy game that is like in a William Gibson cyberpunk kind of universe where you have to connect. You hack nodes. It combines a lot of like I don't know what those games are called, but what would you call Euphoria? It's kind of a strategy game, right? The thing where you have the little ships and they fly from planet to planet. But
it's a strategy game.
Yeah, so it kind of works like that. Like you attack nodes and take over nodes. There's usually an opponent that's computer controlled, or you can play multiplayer.
And it's called PWN.
PWN. It is the best iOS game I've played in a really long time. So that'll do it for us this week. For Norman, anything to plug? Anything else you want to talk about on the site?
There was also GDC last week. We covered that, but a lot of stuff happened at the end of the week.
Didn't we talk about that last week?
There was some controversy.
What was the controversy?
There was the parties and
the indie game thing with the I don't want to get into that here. That's a topic for gaming podcasts.
Which clearly we are not.
No, as everyone reminds us at every available opportunity. We'll be back next week with another edition of This Is Only a Test. Until then, we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I got to play that. Oh, today's outro is brought to you by Benathon. Hi there, I didn't see you. Tested. That was fitting. If you want to send an outro in, the way to do that is to go to tested.com or go to Google and search for raw outro song file. The raw outro without with the big gap in it is on the first page, and then just upload your edited version to SoundCloud and post a link. Make sure you set the SoundCloud file to download. Otherwise, I won't be able to download it and play it on the show. But we'll see you guys next week. Bye.